Hey there, beautiful souls, and welcome to another episode of Pain to Power, empowering you to heal from trauma, loss, and emotional wounds. I'm your host, Jill Ripley, and I'm here to help you remember who you truly are beneath all the noise. A lot of what I share here is inspired by my book, Empowered by the Storm, Releasing the Past and Embracing the Light. If anything resonates with you today, you can dive deeper with me there or at empoweredbythestorm.com. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself, whose voice is that in my head? Is it really yours, or does it belong to someone else? A parent, a teacher, society at large? Today we're talking about programming, and more importantly, how to break free from it. So what is programming? Programming is the subconscious conditioning of our minds through repeated messages we receive early in life. From parents, teachers, religion, social media, and society. These messages shape our beliefs about what love is, what success looks like, how we should behave, and who we're allowed to be. Some examples are, good girls don't speak up. Real men don't cry. You have to earn love by being useful. I'm too sensitive. I need to toughen up. These beliefs get hardwired in our early years without us even realizing it. We begin living our lives as if these are facts, even when these beliefs are painful, limiting, or completely false. And because they're unconscious, we rarely question them until something in our lives starts to break down. The truth is, we're programmed from every angle, through the expectation of our caregivers, the norms reinforced in classrooms, and the values embedded in the media we consume. Think about it. Movies often portray love as something dramatic or codependent. Ads sell us the idea that we're not enough unless we buy their product. Social media reinforces impossible standards of beauty and success. We do this to each other by only posting the good stuff that happens in life. You never see people posting about the last blow-up they had with their spouse or teenager. What we post are all the highlights of all our fun times, and it gives people the impression that our lives should be perfect. TV shows can glorify toxic behavior and frame it as entertainment. Even music lyrics can echo the message that pain equals love. The repetition of these messages is powerful. And if we're not mindful, it can quietly mold our self-worth, relationships, and identity. When we grow up in households where fear, trauma, or constant bickering is the norm, that chaos becomes our baseline. Even if it was painful, it's what we knew, and the nervous system clings to what's familiar, not necessarily what's healthy. So we internalize messages like, love is loud, peace doesn't last, or I have to tiptoe to stay safe. That kind of environment programs us to normalize dysfunction, to expect instability, to mistrust calm, to brace for the next explosion. And unless we pause to question those inherited beliefs, we end up recreating those patterns in our adult lives. Not because we want to suffer, but because the nervous system is simply following the script it was given. Healing begins when we realize that we're allowed to rewrite that script. From the moment we open our eyes, we're being shaped, not just by our families, but by the world around us. Society sends us constant messages about who we're supposed to be, what beauty looks like, how success is defined, what roles we should play based on our gender, race, or class. The media reinforces this conditioning every day in movies that romanticize toxic love, in TV shows where the strong silent type is glorified, and in ads that tell us we're not enough unless we buy the next product promising confidence or youth. Even social media, with its perfectly curated highlight reels, subtly trains us to compare, conform, and seek validation outside ourselves. These narratives creep in quietly, shaping our beliefs, behaviors, and self-worth until hopefully one day we wake up and realize we've been living someone else's script. The good news is we can rewrite it. For much of my life, I was running on programming that told me I had to be strong all the time, that showing emotion was weakness and meant not needing anyone. But guess what? That story wasn't mine. It was inherited. My childhood was filled with abandonment, loss, and moments where I had to grow up way too fast. I absorbed the belief that I needed to take care of everything on my own, to be the strong one. It took years of inner work to realize that strength isn't about shutting off your needs. It's about honoring them. I carried so much fear around being too much or too emotional. Not being emotionally mature enough to understand these feelings, I acted out by rebelling and pushing boundaries. Not because I wanted to cause trouble, but because I didn't know how else to express the deep pain inside me. Deep down, I was aching for someone to really see me, to recognize the hurt behind the behavior, the chaos behind the cry for connection. It wasn't until I got sober at age 46 that I even realized how deeply I had been programmed. Before that, I was just surviving, numbing the pain, pushing through life on a day-to-day basis, playing the roles I thought I had to play. Sobriety stripped away the noise. It was like waking up from a long, restless sleep. I was forced to sit with the truth, and it was uncomfortable. But in that discomfort, I started to see the old stories for what they were. Survival strategies, not inherent truths about my worth. And it wasn't until I started dismantling that programming that I found the courage to show up as myself. Vulnerable, messy, honest, and whole. Sobriety didn't just give me clarity, it gave me access to who I really was beneath the conditioning. Neuroscience tells us that the brain is most susceptible to programming from ages 0 to 7. This is when our subconscious is being formed, before we have critical thinking skills to question what's coming in. We're in a theta brainwave state, which is like a sponge for our beliefs, especially the emotional ones. As adults, our brains run 95% of the time on subconscious autopilot. That means unless we consciously rewire those beliefs, they keep running our lives, from our relationships to our careers, to how we treat ourselves when we make a mistake. But here's the good news. Thanks to neuroplasticity, our brains have the ability to change. We can reprogram our inner dialogue. Studies show that consistent repetition of new thoughts, especially when paired with emotion, begins to form new neural pathways. This is why practices like meditation, journaling, visualization, and affirmation are more than just feel-good fluff. They're powerful tools for transformation. Now, I want to talk to you about how to spot your programming. Start by paying attention to your internal dialogue. When you have a thought that's not empowering, ask yourself, whose voice is that? Does this belief serve me or does it shrink me? What did I learn about love, success, and safety growing up? Some signs of unhelpful programming are things like harsh self-talk, like, I'm so stupid. Why do I always mess things up? No one's ever going to love me the way that I am. I should be further along by now. What's wrong with me? I can't do anything right. I'm such a failure. And then there's the people-pleasing, like saying yes to commitments you don't have time for or energy for because you're afraid to disappoint someone. Constantly apologizing, even when you haven't done anything wrong. I see people do this all the time, and I will say to them, no need to say sorry, you didn't do anything wrong. Because I want people to be aware that they don't have to say sorry all the time. And then agreeing with opinions you don't actually believe in just to avoid conflict. Feeling anxious or guilty when someone is upset with you, even if you've done nothing wrong. Or pretending to be okay when you're not. And what about the fear of being seen or heard? Like holding back your questions or ideas because you're afraid of sounding stupid. Avoiding eye contact or shrinking your posture. Staying silent in conversations even when you have something to say. It's time to start to reframe these limiting beliefs. Instead of saying, I'm not good enough, say, I'm inherently worthy. Instead of saying, I must earn love, say, I'm lovable just as I am. Instead of saying, people always leave, say, the right people stay, and I stay for myself. Instead of saying, my worth depends on my productivity, say, I'm valuable simply because I exist. This work doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. But each time you question a belief and choose a more empowering one, you're creating freedom. Other aspects of reprogramming include having awareness. You can't change what you don't notice. Start by catching the old scripts in action. Have compassion. You learned these beliefs to survive. Thank them and then release them. And then by repetition. Use affirmations, journaling, and meditation to imprint new beliefs. I take time every morning to start with these practices, and it sets me up for success. And surround yourself with truth. Listen to podcasts that empower you, read books that nourish your soul, and spend time with people who reflect your true self back to you. If you're spending time with people who make you feel uncomfortable or small, you have not found your tribe. Practice speaking your truth, even when your voice shakes. Every time you show up as your real self, you weaken the grip of the old story. And celebrate your progress. Even small shifts matter. The more you acknowledge your growth, the more momentum you build. Now, I would like to walk you through a little meditation that will help you find your center, the space that your divine peace and your true nature resides. If you can indulge me for just a few minutes, I think you will find this practice one that you can return to again and again when you're feeling overwhelmed, out of sorts, or confused. Now, I want you to start by taking 3 full breaths. Start by breathing in until you reach the very top of your head, and then slowly release until you have fully emptied your lungs. Now I want you to ask yourself this question. What would it feel like to go back in time before my life's experiences began? To be back in the womb, safe, nourished, and not responsible for anything. And just imagine what that feels like. We will sit with this question for 2 minutes and just be. Welcome back. How did that feel? Do you feel at peace? If you had trouble letting go, don't get discouraged. Just try again when you're in a quiet space. It's a simple question. You can ask it at any time. If you're in a stressful situation, you can do this in public. Just do it with your eyes open. No one has to know. Just envision yourself back in the womb before life had its impact on you, and say to yourself, what would it feel like? This is your true essence. You are not broken. You are not your programming. You are who you choose to become, one conscious thought at a time. And that's where your power lives. Every time you challenge an old belief, every time you speak up when you would have stayed silent, every time you choose rest over burnout, you are rewriting your story. And I would like for you to commend yourself for each small win. Self-work is not easy work, but it's worthwhile work. You are worthy, and you deserve your best life. If this episode sparked something in you, I'd love to hear about it. Message me at empoweredbythestorm.com or find me on Instagram at empoweredbythestorm. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, stay grounded, stay open, stay loving, and stay empowered.